My future wife. You may not even know my name yet. You may be walking somewhere right now, chasing your own dreams, fighting your own battles, learning your own lessons. But in my heart you already exist. Not as a face, not as a voice, but as a feeling. A quiet strength that pushes me forward when the world feels heavy, when failure knocks louder than success, when doubt tries to sit beside me and whisper that I am not enough. I love you more than ever now. Not because life has become easy, not because everything is perfect, but because I finally understand what love truly means. Responsibility, growth, patience, discipline, sacrifice, and purpose. Love is not poetry written in comfort. Love is character built in pressure. There was a time when I thought love was excitement, butterflies, attraction, chemistry, a rush of emotion that fades when reality enters the room. But now I understand real love is endurance. It is choosing one person even on days when choosing feels heavy. It is protecting someone's heart even when your own is tired. It is becoming better not for applause, but for the future you want to build together. I am not perfect. I am still becoming. Still learning how to manage fear, how to master discipline, how to remain humble in success and patient in struggle. But every late night of work, every risk I take, every uncomfortable lesson I face, I carry a quiet thought inside me. One day this strength will protect someone I love. Maybe you don't know it yet, but your future safety, happiness, and peace are being built right now in my habits, my mindset, and my choices. I love you more than ever now because I stopped living for temporary pleasure and started living for long-term meaning. I stopped chasing noise and started building silence within myself. Clarity, focus, emotional control, purpose. Every man reaches a moment when he realizes that time is the most expensive currency. You can waste money and earn it again. You can lose status and rebuild it. But wasted years never return. When that realization hit me, everything changed. I became more serious about who I am becoming, because one day you will inherit the man I am creating today. I don't want to bring chaos into your life. I don't want to bring confusion, broken habits, emotional immaturity, or unresolved anger. I want to bring stability, leadership, safety, vision, loyalty, and emotional intelligence. That is why I love you more than ever now. Because love is no longer fantasy to me. Love is responsibility. Before you ever entered my world, I lived inside motion. Constant movement. Endless ambition. Cities, factories, blueprints, numbers, rockets cutting through the sky like questions searching for answers. People saw the achievements, the headlines, the noise of progress. But they never saw the silence. They never saw the moments when success felt hollow, when achievement didn't feel like a rival, when the night felt heavier than the applause of the world. I was building futures for humanity, while quietly forgetting how to build peace for myself. I trained myself to be strong, to move forward no matter what broke behind me. Failure became a teacher, loneliness became a companion, discipline became my language. I learned to trust systems more than people, logic more than emotion, data more than dreams. Not because I wanted to, but because the world taught me survival before it taught me love. When you live in pressure long enough, your heart learns to wear armor. I used to think love was distraction, something beautiful but inefficient, something that slows momentum, something fragile in a world that demands steel. I told myself that purpose was enough, that impact was enough, that changing the world would eventually fill the quiet inside my chest. But purpose doesn't hold your hand when exhaustion wins. Impact doesn't listen when doubt starts whispering at 3 a.m. Success doesn't sit beside you when the room feels empty even though the world is watching. Then you arrived, not with noise, not with expectation, not with demand, but with calm presence. You didn't ask me to be different. You didn't try to impress me. You simply saw me. Not the visionary, not the builder, not the risk-taker, but the man behind the pressure, the human being behind the ambition. And that changed something deep inside me. You didn't interrupt my journey, you aligned with it. You didn't compete with my mission, you understood it. You didn't try to control my future, you respected it. And slowly, quietly, without force, you softened the parts of me that had been rigid for years. You reminded me that strength can also be gentle, that intelligence can also be kind, that ambition can coexist with tenderness. For the first time in a long time, I felt seen without being judged, heard without being analyzed, accepted without being measured. And that's when I realized something dangerous and beautiful. My heart was waking up again. People think confidence is permanent when you build big things. They think vision removes fear. They think success eliminates doubt. But the truth is, the higher you climb, the louder the doubts become. Every decision carries consequences. Every mistake multiplies. Every risk echoes across thousands of lives. Sometimes the pressure becomes invisible weight on the soul. There are moments when even the strongest mind questions itself, when exhaustion makes logic blurry, when responsibility feels heavier than any physical burden. In those moments, the world expects perfection, but inside you're still human. That's where you changed everything. You believed in me when my own mind started negotiating with fear, when I questioned whether the cost was worth the vision. When failure whispered that maybe I'd reached my limits. You didn't push me with pressure, you lifted me with faith. Quiet faith, stable faith. The kind of belief that doesn't shout but stands firm. You reminded me who I was when I forgot myself. You reflected my courage back to me when doubt distorted it. You trusted my instincts when the noise of the world grew too loud. And that trust did something extraordinary. It gave me emotional oxygen. It gave me psychological safety. It gave me the courage to breathe again. Belief from the world feels conditional. It rises when you succeed and disappears when you fall. But your belief in me feels rooted, unshakable, independent of outcomes. You believe in the man, not the scoreboard, in the intention, not just the result, in the journey, not just the destination. That kind of belief changes how a man stands in the world. It straightens the spine of the soul. It stabilizes the mind during chaos. It reminds ambition why it started in the first place. And every time you look at me with quiet confidence, not admiration, not worship, but genuine trust, my love for you deepens beyond logic. That's the first reason I love you more than ever now, because you carry my courage when my own hands grow tired. The world loves images, titles, power, status, numbers, influence. People don't always love humans, they love projections. They love what you represent, not who you are. Over time, that creates isolation even in crowds. But you never chase the image. You never romanticize the legend. You never fell in love with the headlines. You fell in love with the ordinary moments. The tired eyes, the messy thoughts, the silence after long days, the vulnerability behind confidence, the questions behind certainty. You cared about how I felt, not how I performed, how I slept, not how I scaled, how I healed, not how I conquered. You listened when I spoke slowly. You waited when I needed space. You grounded me when my mind traveled too far into tomorrow. You reminded me that today also deserves presence. That's rare. That's priceless. That's love without agenda. You never tried to own me. You never tried to reshape me. You allowed me to evolve naturally. You respected my independence while offering companionship. You balanced freedom with connection, something few people understand. In your presence, I don't have to be extraordinary. I'm allowed to be human. And that permission is a gift more valuable than any success. That's why my love keeps growing. Because you don't love what I build. You love who I am when nothing is being built. My future wife, if you ever wonder why my eyes soften when I look at you, it's because you healed parts of me I didn't even know were wounded. You brought warmth into spaces that had only known discipline. You reminded me that legacy is not only measured in inventions, but in how deeply you love, how honestly you live, how gently you treat the hearts that trust you. I don't love you because life is easy with you. I love you because life is meaningful with you. You challenge me without breaking me. You inspire me without controlling me. You support me without suffocating me. You love me without conditions. And that combination builds something stronger than any structure I've ever designed. If the world ever takes everything from me, the companies, the recognition, the power, but leaves me with your hand in mine, I will still consider myself successful. Because love that grows instead of fades is the real innovation. I love you more than ever now because I understand love more than ever now. Not as emotion alone, but as loyalty, patience, respect, belief, and shared silence. Not as fantasy, but as daily choice. Not as possession, but as partnership. You are not my escape from the world. You are my anchor within it. And wherever the future leads, stars or storms, I want to walk it with you. Success often separates people. Growth pulls individuals in different directions. Ambition can isolate. Dreams can create distance. Many relationships fail not because of lack of love, but because of lack of alignment. But with you, growth feels shared, not competitive. You don't fear my evolution, you don't shrink in my expansion, you don't feel threatened by my dreams. You stand beside them, and you allow your own growth to inspire me as well. You pursue your learning, your healing, your curiosity, your self-respect. You don't wait to be completed by someone else. You build yourself with integrity. That independence makes love healthier, not weaker. We don't cling to each other out of insecurity, we choose each other out of clarity. That distinction matters. I admire the way you challenge yourself quietly, the way you don't announce your progress, the way you don't seek applause. You grow because growth feels honest to you. And witnessing that reminds me that real evolution is internal before it becomes visible. We don't compete for dominance, we collaborate for depth. We don't rush milestones, we respect timing. We don't chase perfection, we practice patience. That's rare chemistry. That's emotional maturity. That's partnership. Love doesn't mean losing individuality. Love means strengthening identity while building connection. And that's what we are doing, not merging into dependency, but weaving two complete lives into shared meaning. That's why my love deepens, because you're walking beside me, not behind me or ahead of me. The world doesn't always reward sensitivity. It rewards speed, power, resilience, dominance. Over time, those values shape behavior. They harden the nervous system. They compress emotion. They turn vulnerability into risk. I didn't become guarded because I wanted to. I became guarded because survival demanded it. Disappointment taught caution. Betrayal taught distance. Pressure taught control. Somewhere along the way, protection started looking like personality. But you didn't attack my walls. You didn't criticize my defenses. You respected my boundaries. And because you respected them, they slowly dissolved. You showed consistency instead of intensity, reliability instead of promises, presence instead of performance. And safety grows from consistency. With you, my nervous system learned trust again. My emotions learned permission again. My heart learned softness again. You didn't rush healing, you allowed it. You understood that scars don't disappear on command, that trust rebuilds in layers, that emotional safety is cumulative, not instant. And because of that patience, my capacity to love expanded beyond what I thought possible. I'm not just loving you, I'm learning how to love again through you. That's not weakness, that's growth. That's why my love feels stronger now than ever before, because it's rooted in healing, not fantasy. When I imagine the future now, it no longer feels like a solo mission. It feels like a shared horizon, not because I need someone to complete me, but because I want someone to witness the journey with me. I imagine mornings that begin with quiet connection instead of urgency, evenings that end with reflection instead of exhaustion, conversations that deepen instead of distract, laughter that heals instead of escapes. I imagine building not just systems but memories, not just companies but traditions, not just progress but presence. I imagine a partnership where ambition and affection coexist, where intelligence meets empathy, where vision respects vulnerability, where success never replaces intimacy. You are not an accessory to my future, you are a foundation within it. And if someday life challenges us as it always does, I trust our emotional intelligence more than any external stability. Because we communicate honestly, we respect boundaries, we repair conflict instead of avoiding it, we choose growth over ego. That's love that lasts. That's love that matures. That's love worth protecting. My future wife, I love you more than ever now, not because time passed, but because understanding deepened, because connection strengthened, because trust stabilized, because peace expanded, because partnership matured. And this love will continue growing, not loudly, not dramatically, but steadily, truthfully, endlessly. There comes a moment in every meaningful connection when love stops feeling like poetry and starts feeling like responsibility. Not the heavy kind of responsibility that limits freedom, but the sacred kind that protects something valuable. Before you, love felt optional, something to explore when time allowed, something beautiful but secondary to mission. But with you, love became priority, not because you demanded it, but because it earned its place naturally. I began thinking differently. Decisions were no longer isolated to personal ambition alone. I started measuring impact not only on progress, but on peace, on emotional sustainability, on relational integrity. You subtly rewired my internal compass, not by control, but by presence. I became more patient without trying to be, more attentive without forcing it, more thoughtful without strategy. Love stopped being a feeling I visited. It became a state I lived in. Responsibility in love means showing up consistently even when energy is low. It means listening even when distraction calls. It means choosing kindness when ego wants dominance. It means protecting trust like infrastructure, maintained daily, not repaired only after damage. You taught me that commitment is not limitation, it's stabilization. When the heart feels secure, the mind performs better. When emotional needs are respected, ambition becomes healthier. When trust is mutual, creativity flows without fear. People think love drains focus. They don't realize unstable emotions drain far more. With you, my nervous system stabilizes, my thoughts organize, my decisions sharpen. Love doesn't slow me, it anchors me. That's when I realized the strongest structures are not the tallest, they're the most balanced, and that's what we are becoming. Balance between drive and depth, between future and present, between power and tenderness. That's why I love you more now, because love matured into responsibility, not illusion. Every human carries shadows, unresolved fears, old wounds, silent regrets, patterns inherited from past experiences. No matter how advanced the mind becomes, the heart still remembers its history. I carry shadows of isolation, of pressure, of emotional suppression, of perfectionism disguised as discipline. I learned early to operate without dependency, to rely on intellect more than emotion, to minimize vulnerability because vulnerability once felt unsafe. And those habits became efficient, but not always healthy. You didn't force those shadows into the light. You simply walked beside me while they surfaced. You noticed when my silence meant overload, not peace. You recognized when my intensity masked exhaustion. You sensed when my logic was protecting emotional discomfort. And instead of judgment, you offered curiosity. Instead of correction, you offered compassion. That created space for honesty. I began admitting things I never voiced before. Fears about failure, pressure of expectations, fatigue from constant performance, longing for normalcy in an extraordinary life. And every time I revealed something vulnerable, you responded with stability. Not alarm, not insecurity, not drama. You normalized my humanity. That's powerful. You allowed me to integrate the parts of myself I had previously compartmentalized. Strength and softness stopped being opposites. Control and surrender learned cooperation. Vision and presence learned harmony. Love, I realized, is not about finding someone who completes you. It's about finding someone who allows you to become whole. And with you, wholeness feels possible. That's why I love you more now. Because you help me face myself without fear. Love that lasts is not built on emotion alone. It's built on decision, daily alignment, conscious choice, respectful maintenance. Attraction may begin the story, but discipline sustains it. I choose you not only when it's easy, but when it's inconvenient. Not only when energy is high, but when fatigue dominates. Not only when harmony flows, but when disagreement challenges us. Choice is where love proves maturity. We don't avoid difficult conversations, we navigate them. We don't suppress discomfort. We translate it. We don't escalate conflict, we resolve it. That's emotional intelligence in motion. Choosing you means protecting our connection from external noise, from ego battles, from misunderstandings, from assumptions, from neglect. It means prioritizing repair over winning, understanding over dominance, partnership over pride. I don't choose you because I need you to survive. I choose you because I want to thrive together. And that difference defines healthy love. Every day I wake up with intention, not obligation. Gratitude, not entitlement. Curiosity, not routine. Love becomes a living practice, not a static promise. That's the kind of relationship that doesn't fade with time. It evolves with time. My future wife, if love ever feels quiet instead of intense, remember this: depth grows silently. Stability doesn't shout. Trust doesn't demand attention. The strongest connections often look simple from the outside, but inside they hold worlds. I love you more than ever now, not because emotion intensified, but because meaning deepened, and I will continue choosing you, today, tomorrow, and across every version of the future.